Well, the same thing that happened in 2023 has happened in 2025. After making it back to the conference final, the Dallas Stars and the Carolina Hurricanes have been eliminated. In our second to last offseason preview series, we're going to look at the Canes and the Stars and see what they can do in the offseason to maybe make it over the hump next year. We'll get to those updates coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the End-to-End Hockey channel. Now, before we get started, don't forget to like this video and subscribe below. Thank you for all of your support. I would never be able to do this with all of you guys, so if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. Don't forget to leave a comment. We're on the road to 500 subscribers. And don't forget to stay tuned for our June 27th, June 28th, and July 1st live streams talking about the draft, free agency, and everything in between, so definitely look forward to stay tuned for that. But in today's video, we've got our second to last off-season preview series video. The last off-season preview video talking about the Panthers and the Oilers will either happen on June 20th or June 23rd, depending on what happens and how long the Stanley Cup final goes, but it's going to be either one of those 2 days. But when it comes over to the off-season preview series here, we've got the Carolina Hurricanes and Dallas Stars. Both these teams were able to make it out of the first and second round. Once again, just like in 2023, got to the conference final, and just like in 2023, both lost, as Dallas fell at the hands of the Edmonton Oilers and Carolina at the hands of the Florida Panthers. So we'll touch on both these teams. We're going to start off with the Hurricanes here. They had a 47-30-5 record in the regular season, so they did not hit the 100-point plateau. They were still second in the Metro Division, just shows you how weak the Metro is right now, but still, they had a decent season. They were able to make it into the postseason, beat up the really banged up New Jersey Devils in 5 games 4-1, and then took down the East winning Washington Capitals in 5 games 4-1 before losing the first 3 games of the Eastern Conference Final, winning Game 4, which wound up ending their 15-game conference final losing streak, and then they wound up losing in 5 to fall in 5 games to Florida. So very interesting note there. Like I said, Canes, once again, they were a team who did not hit the 100-point plateau, so to see them make it this far is quite surprising, but they do wind up being eliminated in the conference finals. We'll start off with their stats, their goal scoring and point scoring leaders from the postseason and the regular season. So first, when it comes to their point scoring leaders in the regular season, Aho had 74 points, Jarvis had 67 points, and Svechnikov with 48 points. Definitely, it's not one of the best offensive teams we've seen in these offseason preview series videos. You want to see them have a couple more 60, 70-point players, but still, it's good to see that Jarvis and Aho were able to make those marks. When you go over to the goal scoring side, this Jarvis had 32 goals, Sebastian Aho had 29 goals, and Roslovic had 22 goals. So once again, you want to see a lot more players hit the 30-plus goal mark. Maybe have 1 or 2 guys hit the 40-plus goal mark. Only Jarvis broke the 30-goal plateau. So very interesting note there, but those are the goal scoring and point scoring leaders in the regular season. In the postseason, Jarvis led the team with 16 points. Aho had 15 points. Both were point per game or above point per game. And then Svechnikov had 12 points, so very good stuff there. It's good to see some of those top guys were actually producing quite well in the postseason. Svechnikov led the team with 8 goals. Aho was second with 7. Jarvis was third with 6. So very interesting note there, but Svechnikov, Aho, Jarvis, as usual, were the leaders in the postseason goal scoring wise. So very interesting note there. If you go over to their advanced stats, the Carolina Hurricanes in the regular season had 266 goals for. They were 9th in the NHL. 230 goals against. They were 10th in the NHL. And 18.7% power play, which was 25th in the NHL. But at 83.6% penalty kill, which was first in the NHL. So the best ranked penalty kill. They had a top half goal scoring, goals against, but it wasn't overly great. And their power play was terrible. In the postseason, the goal scoring definitely came down a little bit. Had 2.93 goals for per game, which was 7th. Their goals against was actually quite good, giving up 2.60 goals against per game, which was 2nd. They had 23.1% power play unit, which was tied for 7th, and an 85.1% PK unit, which was 2nd. So they had the 2nd best penalty kill. That was able to be a strong suit even in the postseason as well as the regular season. Their defense was actually quite good even in the postseason, but their offense and the power play was mediocre, and that's another big reason as to why Canes wound up being ended in the conference finals. A very interesting note there. The Carolina Hurricanes go into this offseason currently having $28.42 million in cap space, so lots of cap space to work with there for the Carolina Hurricanes. The 3 reasons I think this team was eliminated: 1, the defensive collapses. Now, this team was pretty good defensively throughout the first 2 series. Like, they held New Jersey and Washington's offenses in check and were actually quite good. But when it came to the Florida Panthers, the Panthers walked all over them. Game 1, 2, 3, and even to some extent Game 5, all Florida's offense, and they ran all over the Carolina Hurricanes. They were able to get some of their defensive abilities back in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Final, but it really didn't do well. And in the conference final, that defense collapsed. That's reason number one. Reason number two, I think, is their depth scoring faded. Their offense was limited in the Eastern Conference Final, and even the guys who were scoring, it was Jarvis, it was Aho, it was Svechnikov, it was the big guys who were contributing. The bottom six really started to fade, especially in the conference final, and that's another big reason, in my opinion, as to why the Carolina Hurricanes team was eliminated in round 3. And the last one was they cannot win an Eastern Conference Finals. It's just something that the Carolina Hurricanes seem to be able to not do. In 09, they got swept by Pittsburgh. In 19, they got swept by Boston. In 23, they got swept by Florida. They at least ended that losing streak they're on, but they lost in 5 again to Florida. So this team consistently makes the playoffs, consistently can win in round 1, but for some odd reason, they cannot win in the conference final. And that's the third reason, in my opinion, as to why this team was eliminated in the 3rd round. So in my opinion, defensive collapse, the depth scoring fading, and not being able to win the Eastern Conference Final are the 3 reasons I think this Canes team was eliminated in the conference final. Going over to their pending UFAs and pending RFAs, as well as their draft capital. So I feel like their UFAs, not a big list here. You have Roslovic, Robinson, Jost, Burns, Orlov, Stillman, and Spencer Martin. Martin, who was the 3rd stringer this year, had a 3.41 record with a 3.89 GAA and 846 save percentage. Didn't have overly great numbers, but is a serviceable 3rd stringer, so I could see him be kept around, but I wouldn't be surprised if he left. You have Stillman, who had no points in 5 games. Depth defenseman, could definitely see him walk. You have Brent Burns, who had 6 goals and 29 points in 82 games. If he doesn't retire, I could definitely see him be back on like a shorter-term 1 to 2 year deal in Carolina. While Dmitry Orlov had 6 goals and 28 points in 76 games. Is probably going to test free agency, so very interesting note there. Tyson Jost had 4 goals and 9 points in 39 games. Eric Robinson had 14 goals and 32 points in 82 games. Both are decent bottom 6 forwards. I could see maybe one of those guys we brought back. And then you have Jack Roslovic with 22 goals and 39 points in 81 games. Roslovic was a very fantastic offseason addition for the Hurricanes. I wouldn't be surprised if he was brought back on a short-term deal, but those are the UFAs, headlined by Roslovic, Burns, and Orlov. Let's look at their RFAs. They have Ryan Suzuki, Noel Gunler, Smith, Fensor, Seeley, and Perez. Perez came in relief in one time for the Carolina Hurricanes regular season, has 7.32 GAA at 857 save percentage. He's still a really good young goaltender, so I definitely think he'll be brought back. You have Seeley, Fensor, Gunler, and Suzuki, who all didn't have points. Suzuki and Fensor were the only 2 who got to game action this year, both playing 2. I could see most of those guys we brought back. They're all younger type players, so I wouldn't be surprised if most of those guys were brought back. And you have Ty Smith, who had a goal and 2 points in 8 games. Decent, like 7th-8 defenseman. Wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't qualified, but I could definitely see him be brought back. So those are the RFAs, headlined by Smith and Suzuki. Going over to the draft capital for the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, they, like a couple of other teams that we've been talking about recently, they have less than the average team does, but they have more than we've seen some of these other teams have. They have 6 draft picks, which isn't overly bad there for Carolina Hurricanes team, who actually made the playoffs this year. They have their own 1st round pick, no seconds, the Bolts 3rd, their own 4th, no 5th, the Bolts, and their own 6th round pick, as well as their own 7th round pick. So they have quite a bit of their own draft picks. They have an extra couple of picks thanks to Tampa. So like I said, it's not an abundance of draft selections. They only have 2 picks in the first 3 rounds, but it's a lot more than we've seen some of these other teams who made the playoffs have. So very interesting note there. But the Hurricanes, at least going into the draft capital at this point in time, have 6 draft selections. And lastly, going over to 5 ways I think the Carolina Hurricanes team can improve in the offseason to get better and maybe make a little bit more of a deeper push next year. So the first thing they need to do, add a superstar winger. Like, this team has a pretty good group. They have a group that can score. They have some pretty good depths, but they don't have that elite level talent, that superstar goal scorer that a lot of these other teams have. Like, I know goaltending might be a problem, but if they had that finishing talent, I think they could have gone to a Stanley Cup final one the past couple of seasons. So I think adding a superstar guy, it sounds like they're going to be in on Mitch Marner. Wouldn't be surprised about that. I wonder if they go to the trade market, try and get someone who they could maybe try and finagle to try and get. Like, there's been some talk of them using the Dallas Stars first round picks that they got in the Mikko Rantanen deal to try and get some sort of a star level player. So we're gonna have to wait and see on that. But I think adding a superstar has to be priority number one. Priority number two has to be add one or two top four defensemen. They are going to lose Dmitry Orlov this offseason. Brent Burns is a very good chance is leaving. And with those two, that's two really big pieces from the past couple of years in their top four. So they're going to have to try and either keep like a guy like Brent Burns or one of Dmitry Orlov, or try and replace them. They got guys in free agency like a Provorov, like an Ekblad, who I think would be prime targets of the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm not going to say it's a guarantee that they sign there, but I definitely think that adding one to two top four defensemen, especially if both Orlov and Burns leave, I think has to be priority number two. Priority number three has to be give their younger guys some more opportunities. One of their former second round picks in Unger Sorum, a younger player in Suzuki, Nick Shinomura, who got opportunities in the playoffs, I think all deserve at least opportunities to be regular NHLers next year. I think Morrow and Nikishin are both extremely close to being solid third pair defensemen, at least at this point in time. Suzuki and Unger Sorum, I think, could be decent bottom six guys next year. So in my opinion, adding some more youth to this team would be a smart move there for Carolina, and it's priority number three. Priority number four is add some heavier, bigger type bottom six forwards. This team got bullied by the Florida Panthers. It sounds like they really want to try and go after some heavier type players to make it difficult to play against. So I don't know who they go after. Like, is it a Tanner Jeannot type player in free agency or something like that? I'm not exactly sure, but I think adding some bottom six forwards who have some size to them would be a very smart move there for the Hurricanes. And the fifth thing I think this Carolina Hurricanes team needs to do in the offseason is consider trading Jesperi Kotkaniemi. His contract is not looking overly good right now. I think he's making $4.85 million, and he was supposed to be a second line center, but now he's basically been a bottom six guy over the past couple of seasons. I don't think that contract's working out for Carolina, so if they can move on from him and maybe get a decent return, I think that could be a smart move there for Carolina. So in my opinion, the five things this team needs to do is add a superstar winger, add one to two top four defensemen, get some younger players on the team, add some bigger bottom six players, and consider trading Jesperi Kotkaniemi. So that's what I think the Carolina Hurricanes need to do to make it to the Stanley Cup final potentially next year. And next, going over to the Dallas Stars. So when it comes to the Dallas Stars, they had a 50-26-4 record, a pretty solid record. They were second in the Central Division. I think they were top three or top four in the Western Conference. So they had a very fantastic season last year. They started out the playoffs with a matchup against the Colorado Avalanche, and after some back and forth games, were able to take that series in seven thanks to Mikko Rantanen. Then they were able to match up with the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets, where thanks to the inability of Winnipeg winning on the road, they were able to take them down in 6 games for 2, made it back to their third consecutive Western Conference final, and won the first game of the Western Conference final, but lost 4 straight and wound up getting taken out by the Edmonton Oilers for the second consecutive season. So very interesting note there. It was a solid season there from Dallas. We finished top 2 in the Central. We were able to make it to their third straight Western Conference final. Just could not get over the hump and make it past the Edmonton Oilers. So very interesting note there. Going over to their goal and point scoring leaders in the regular and postseason. In the regular season, Matt Duchene had 82 points. Jason Robertson had 80 points, and Wyatt Johnson had 71 points. So this team had a ton of 60-plus point players and a lot of distributed goal scoring. So they had a lot of solid goal scorers, as you can see by their point players. On the goal scoring side, Robertson led the team with 35 goals. Johnson had 33, and Duchene had 30. So you want to see maybe 1 to 2 guys get 30-plus goals. You maybe want to see maybe 1 or 2 guys hit the 40-goal plateau. But still, I mean, like, they had 3 30-goal scores. So you can't really fault them at that point. So very interesting note there. When it comes to the postseason stuff, Mikko Rantanen had 22 points in the postseason for the Stars, was a very effective player. Thomas Harley had 14 points as a defenseman, so that's really interesting. And Rupe Hintz had 12. So some of their bigger goal scorers didn't have great postseasons, but Rantanen was great, and Harley showed his worth in the postseason. While Rantanen led the team with 9 goals, Hintz had 6, and Granlund had 5. So 2 of their top 3 goal scorers in the postseason were in-season acquisitions. So very interesting note there for the Dallas Stars, but those were their goal scoring and point scoring leaders in the regular and postseason. Going over to their advanced stats in the regular season, they had 275 goals for, which was tied for 3rd in the entire NHL. They had 222 goals against, 6th in the NHL. They had a 22% power play, which was 17th, and an 82% PK, which was tied for 14th. So they had just a tiny bit subpar on the power play. Their penalty kill was in the top 5 of the league, and then their defense was just outside the top of the league, and they had a top 3 goal scoring team. So they were great goal scoring. They had a pretty good PK, they had a pretty good goals against. Power play could have done a little bit better in the regular season, but all in all, not too bad there when it comes to their stats. When you go over to the postseason side, they had a 2.50 goals for per game, which was 13th in the NHL. They were 12th in the NHL in the goals against department with 3.33. They had a 3rd ranked power play unit with 32.1%, and a 5th ranked penalty kill unit with a 79.7%. So their penalty kill, their power play, their special teams in general was actually quite good in the playoffs with Dallas Stars, but offense and defensive wise, it really came crumbling down, especially in that conference final, and that's a massive reason as to why this team was eliminated in the 3rd round. So very interesting note there. They currently have $4.96 million in cap space for this upcoming season, so very little to work with there for Dallas. The 3 reasons I think this team was eliminated was 1, not great 5v5 production. Like we said, they were 13th out of the 16 playoff teams in the goal scoring side in the postseason, and a big reason as to why they weren't lower is because of their stellar power play. Like, that power play is a little bit lower. They score a little bit less goals. You're probably looking at them being one of the worst goal scoring teams in the postseason. So the 5v5 production vanishing, which was a big reason as to why they were one of the top 5 teams in the NHL in goal scoring, was a massive reason as to why they were eliminated by Edmonton. The second one was the power play ran out. In that first game against the Edmonton Oilers, the Dallas Stars scored 3 power play goals in the 3rd period to help them win. After that, I think they only had like 1 or 2 power play goals in the last 4 games of that series. Like, the power play ran out. Edmonton figured out how to defend against it, and without the power play, it was a really long series for Dallas. That's the second reason, in my opinion. And the third reason was defensive collapse. Like, they held the Edmonton Oilers to 3 goals in the first 2 games, but after that, Edmonton ran all over the Dallas Stars in the last 3 games of that series. Their defense completely collapsed. Pierre DeBoer pulled Jake Onger in game 5, and that was basically the end of Pierre DeBoer. So very interesting note there, but the big defensive collapse, I think, was the third reason, in my opinion, why the Stars were eliminated in the conference final. So in my opinion, the 5v5 production from the Dallas Stars, the power play running out, and the defensive collapse were the 3 main reasons, in my opinion, why the Dallas Stars wound up being eliminated in round 3. Next, going over to their UFAs, their RFAs, and their draft capital. So if you look at their UFAs first, they have a long list of UFAs here. They have Jamie Benn, Matt Duchene, Mikhail Granlund, Evgeny Dadonov, Colin Blackwell, Matej Blumel, Cole Lind, Brendan Smith, Cody Ceci, and Magnus Hellberg. Now, if you look at those 2 guys, Hellberg and Lind didn't play at the NHL level this year, so I could see those guys leave. You have Brendan Smith, who had a goal and 6 points in 32 games. Cody Ceci, who had 4 goals and 24 points in 85 games because he was traded in season. Both are decent guys. Like, I could see Ceci stay as like a 3rd pair defenseman. Smith is the depth guy, but I could definitely see both those guys leave. You have Matej Blumel, who had a goal and 7 points. Blackwell, who had 6 goals and 17 points in 63 games, and Dadonov, who had 20 goals and 40 points in 80 games. Those are all depth guys. 13th, 14th forward is what Blumel is. Dadonov and Blackwell are decent like 4th liners, so I wouldn't be surprised if they left. You have Mikhail Granlund, who had 22 goals and 66 points in 83 games. Duchene, who had 30 goals and 82 points in 82 games. And Benn, who had 16 goals and 49 points in 80 games. All 3 players, it sounds like Dallas really wants to keep, although I don't think they'll be able to sign all of them. I think maybe they can sign 2 of them at max. So I definitely think 1 or 2 of those guys will end up leaving, so very interesting note there. Now, if you look at their RFAs, they have Nils Lundqvist, Antonio Stranges, and Maverick Bourque. Lundqvist had 5 assists in 39 games. He's a decent 7th, 8th guy, but wouldn't be one bit surprised if the Stars walked away from him. You have Strangers, who's a pretty good prospect, and I think he'll probably be brought back. Then you have Bourque, with 11 goals and 25 points in 73 games. Really solid bomb 6 guy. He seems to be a guy who a lot of people think could be offer sheeted, so maybe that's a possibility, but I don't think they'll lose him for nothing. So very interesting note there, but those are RFAs. Headlined by Maverick Bourque. The current draft capital for Dallas Stars, and if you look at their draft capital, they have a slight bit less than the Carolina Hurricanes, but not a whole bunch. They definitely don't have too many top-end draft picks, but they do have 5 draft selections for this upcoming draft, so not too bad there. They have no first-round picks, no second-round picks. They have their own 3rd. They have no 4th. They have the Devils in their own 5th. They have their own 6th, and they have their own 7th. So they do have 4 picks in the last 3 rounds, but only 1 pick in the first 4. So definitely not a lot of top-end draft capital, but even though it's not as much as the average team, it's quite good for a team who made the playoffs. So very interesting note there. But that's the draft capital for Dallas Stars. And lastly, going over to 5 things I think this team should look at in the offseason to improve and get better for next season. The first thing they need to do is add a top 4 defenseman. This defense, even though it did all right in the regular season, like it definitely could use a boost. They have Matt Dumba, Ilya Lyubushkin, both are decent lower end guys, but I think they're paying them way too much. So I definitely think adding another top 4 end guy would make some sense. They have Lindell, they have Heiskanen, they have Harley. Those 3 are all pretty good players, but I definitely think adding one more top 4 guy, particularly on the right side, would be a very smart move there for Dallas. Second thing I think this team needs to do is add some bottom 6 help, especially if they were to lose Dodonov, Blackwell, and some of those other top end guys. I definitely think adding some players who could play 4th or 3rd line minutes would be a very smart move there from Dallas. Not sure who they could try and target, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised it took a run at a couple of players, maybe some cheaper guys in free agency. The third thing I think this team needs to do, move Marchment, Lyubushkin, or Dumba. All those guys are making quite a bit more than I think they should. Marchment's got a year left at $4.5 million. I think Dumba and Lyubushkin both have either 2 or 3 years left at, I think it was like just over $3 million. Both of those guys are good defensemen, don't get me wrong, but I just think they're being paid too much for being 3rd pair defensemen. So I wouldn't be surprised if they free up some cap space. Marchment, Lyubushkin, Dumba, at least 2 of those 3 are moved. So we're going to have to wait and see on that, but I think Marchment and Lyubushkin or Dumba getting moved is priority number 3. Priority number 4 is to try and extend 2 of Matt Duchene, Jamie Benn, or Mikael Granlund. Like I said, these 3 guys were all really great for the Dallas Stars. Duchene's 2nd consecutive season in Dallas, had a fantastic year point per game player. Granlund, after coming over from San Jose, was a beautiful fit in the middle 6 for Dallas, and Jamie Benn has been a very long time Dallas Star player. So I think sending 2 of these guys make a lot of sense for the Dallas Stars, and I definitely think that bringing these guys in would make a lot of sense. So I don't know if they'll be able to keep all of them, but I think trying to extend at least 2 of them will make some sense. And the 5th thing I think this needs to do is find a new head coach. As of the recording of this video, they just recently fired Pierre DeBoer. They're going to need to find a new head coach. Not sure who it could be. With DeBoer now gone, they'll probably look at some of those guys who are getting opportunities in the other slots, like who are runners up for the head coach position, teams like Seattle or Boston. So I'm looking at guys like Mitch Love, Jay Leach, and maybe a couple of other guys, Jay Woodcroft. So we're going to have to wait and see on that, but keep your eye on Dallas' head coaching position. They need a new head coach, and that's priority number 5 in my opinion. So in my opinion, adding a top 4 right shot defenseman, some bottom 6 help, moving Marchment, Lyubushkin, and or Matt Dumba, trying to sign 2 of Duchene, Granlund, or Benn, and finding a new head coach. I think are the 5 things the Dallas Stars need to do this offseason that can maybe propel them to making the Stanley Cup final next year. So that's my opinion on Dallas Stars. That's what I think they should do. That's my opinion on the Hurricanes. I'd love your guys' thoughts. What was your opinion on their stats for this past season? And what do you think these 2 teams need to do in the offseason to get better, maybe go deeper next year? Definitely leave your thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. This is all I'm going to talk for today. Remember to like this video, and for the other to subscribe below. Thank you for all of your support. I would never be able to do this without all of you guys. We're on the road to 500 subscribers, so don't forget to leave a comment down below. Don't forget to stay tuned for June 27th, June 28th, and July 1st live streams. I also have a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that, so check that out. I've linked that down in the description below. Can't wait to see you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.